I wanted to bring today's episode to the podcast talking all about specific stressors that may impact your AMH and or high FSH. So today we are taking you through the specific stressors, what you can do right now to fast track your chances of pregnancy success in 2024. Excited for you to listen to this episode. Let's go. Okay, so we're breaking down the top stressors that we see with low AMH, high FSH, premature ovarian insufficiency failure, or diminished ovarian reserve, so you can have a plan to move forward. Okay, so the first one we see is mental emotional stress. I don't think I need to tell you about that one. Obviously, the fertility journey in itself can be stressful, from being labeled a poor responder to canceled cycles, to being told you need to rush to IVF. I've heard people being told aggressive IVFs, or maybe it's the, more natural IVF, a mini IVF. Been told, obviously being told donor eggs. If you're here, many of you have been told that donor eggs are your only option. So that in itself is extremely stressful. In conjunction with that, we also see people that have, that are just stressed by life itself. So as life is stressful, so be it work stress, so from maybe a toxic work environment to a demanding boss to a work schedule that is just no longer meeting your needs. And sometimes when we're on the fertility journey, we just stay in a job longer than it actually serves us, because we're waiting to have our baby and we want to go on mat leave, so then we can then potentially afterwards leave the job, or we're maybe just at a point in life where we need to have a break and hoping to get pregnant and then leave, and then we're there longer than we need to, and the job is just no longer serving us. So if you're working more than 50 hours a week, like when the baby arrives, our whole thing is how do you set the stage now for when your baby arrives? So if you're working more than 50 hours a week, if something happens, with your child, how are you going to be maybe picking the child up, getting home, making sure you're there for dinner, being available? Because 50 hours, I got people working 60, 70, 80, 90 hours a week. When are you even having time to sleep, let alone taking care of another human? So many times we will bury ourselves in our work if it's kind of if we're enjoying it, or maybe we just want to avoid and, work. And so that might be you. But if that whole, the stress of doing that, avoiding, of overworking, exhausting yourself, and maybe you're again in an environment that it could just be extremely stressful, toxic environment that is no longer serving you. Maybe you haven't even told one person at work, what you're going through, and you've got to go back, to do appointments and try to figure this whole thing out. Been on the journey to conceive for years. Maybe you have told your boss, and maybe you do have a few people that know what's happening. That's a personal decision. Many times it is important to let usually your boss know what's happening, right? There's lots of support system too at work that they can offer. If there's an employee assistance program, if you need to have therapy, if you need, obviously many work plans offer fertility treatments. So the thing is, for that, most of them are just going to be offering either the egg freezing or IVFs and medication, which can be helpful. But there's a huge push by the pharmaceutical companies then to get all this covered by employers. But what about all the diet and lifestyle changes and doing this, naturally? Why is that not covered? So there's a question for you. Anyways, we're not anti-IVF or pro health. So you need to work on your health first. If you do go to IVF, you're going to improve your chances of it working. So first of all, setting some boundaries, that boundary word, but setting some boundaries at work. If, any more than 50 is probably too much. And how do you then, do things that bring you joy now and set the stage now as you prepare to have your baby? And I can't tell you how many people are on the fertility journey, working a long hours, stressful job, working full time in itself, also going to graduate school. So many people getting their master's, getting their PhD, climbing up the ladder and taking, doing school part-time. So working on the fertility journey and school in itself of course that's stressful. And sometimes when we want to have something, I know I do that, where it's like, ooh, I can't have that right now. So I'm going to do this over here because I really want that. So I'm going to pretend, to keep myself busy, keep myself occupied. So I'm going to do school. I'm going to do all this other extra stuff. But meanwhile, what I really needed was to rest, was to actually talk about how I was feeling, was to be able to, have a support network. And bearing, obviously, going to school can be helpful depending on where you are, but is now the time to be doing it? Is now the time to be pushing yourself for an additional, certification, diploma, degree, whatever it is? Sometimes that, that external validation that we seek to have the degree on our wall. Why are you doing that? Is now the time? How is that serving you? So just to ask some questions around that. Obviously, higher, I'll have a level learning as well. So I've been doing this podcast and interviewing like amazing people and talking about functional medicine, functional nutrition now for 6 years. And I've been obviously involved with it even longer than that, but the podcast has been going on for that long. So explore the level learning. Is it because there's a lack that you need to feel something? Once you get this degree, diploma, certificate, whatever it is, you will now feel this? Typically, that's not the case. You can feel that now by acknowledging that you're worthy, that acknowledging that's not required. Most of the time, you have the skills that you need right now to do what it is you're trying to do. Obviously, each profession now has, regulatory bodies, and every profession seems to have some sort of certificate or something that's required to be part of it. But that whole the schools are making a lot of money off of this. So do you need it right now? And that's the question to ask. And then from another mental emotional side of things, maybe your relationship with your partner. This journey can bring you together or pull you apart. Most people we work with are deeply in love and want to expand their family. There's many couples we work with that this journey has pulled them apart. Like, it has been rocky, it has been rough, it has been arguments, and because extreme stress, and maybe one person is going to handle it differently than the other person, and the other person thinks the other person doesn't care, or maybe typically men and women will handle it differently. Women, obviously, if you're going through IVF, you're going to be having more hormones in your body, so more emotional, and the man maybe feels he needs to be strong, can't show his emotions, but both of you equally want to have your baby. And so depending on where you are, getting a therapist, as part of our program, we do have mindset coaches to really help you with this stress. But sometimes we need to refer out to therapy. Maybe there's trauma. Maybe you've had pregnancy. We have so many people having pregnancy loss, right? And not being able to talk about it, and not being able to honor what you've gone through, and just feeling very in a dark place. And so that is very important for both partners to have someone to talk to about. That is key. So this relationship, so your relationship might be on some shaky ground. So we can start to work on that and be able to, to make some changes. Typically it's starting with yourself. Then the other person will end up doing what you think they're not doing. They'll do it because you worked on yourself and you're a little nicer, vice versa. And recognize all the good things the partner is doing. When times with, and that's why we coach couples, because it's not about the female. They're picking on the man, trying to say, hey, why are you drinking beer? You're thwarting all my fertility. You're thwarting our fertility, or why are you having pizza, or why are you going over here and doing all this stuff? Meanwhile, let's focus on what we're doing, and focus on all the great stuff he already is doing. Because most people are doing, if you're working on this together, both of you are already doing some really, good things. So is the relationship, does it need support? Does it need help? And that's causing stress for you. So where can you recognize the good in your partner? And maybe for your friendships, many times people on the fertility journey, you've pulled away from some of your important relationships. Because if they are expanding their family and you're still on the journey, it can feel painful when, the gender reveals, the baby announcements, the baby showers. There's 20 years ago, they didn't do all they did the baby shower, but it wasn't like every moment is like cataloged and put it in front of your face all over the place. So here it can be very up and center. So to be able to, minimize the time looking at some of those accounts. You don't need to be the first person at the baby shower, the one to organize the baby shower and the one to leave the last. No, you can arrive late, leave early, still be happy for the person. And then maybe sometimes you're just not able to go. And then when maybe people, will announce their pregnancies, being able to tell them how you want them to handle this. Hey, you know what? I'm going through a tough spot right now. When I know you're trying, when you're pregnant, can you tell me, either send me an email, maybe send me a text, or, because sometimes people, if we've told people, our friends, they may not want to hurt us. So then they don't tell us. And then we find out somewhere else. So then that even makes it worse. So first of all is to see, well, what do you want them to do? Because people don't know. If they haven't been on the fertility journey for any period of time, or even haven't been on it, they have no idea what to do. And so, especially with this, can be, in your place of worship, when you go to church or synagogue or temple, like wherever it is, you're encountering pregnant bellies and families, but many of those places also have support networks as well for people that are trying to expand their family. So definitely being educating people around you is key. And getting clear about how you want to handle certain things. What do you want people to do? And it's not about educating every single person. It's, a small circle, and then we can kind of go from there. So, but first of all, acknowledging this journey, like when I was on the fertility journey, I didn't even think I was stressed. Absolutely ridiculous. Of course I was stressed, just because maybe you can cope well mentally, emotionally. We're going to get into this a little bit. How is your body then coping? And maybe, like for me, I don't go to the crying. That's just not how I am. I'm more to anger, and more like I get road rage, or I'm like, why is my husband breathing? That's driving me crazy. Or, I just feel like triggered, like quickly, instead of being like, okay, you let things roll off your back and you're a little more chill about it. I kind of, when I'm super stressed and I feel like this freaking ball of stress in my neck go. So kind of figure out what your triggers are. Where are you out of alignment? Where do you got to pull back? Where is it the work? You've done too much at work. You've been around people that are not giving you energy. Those ones that are kind of draining. You hang out, you're like, oh my God, can I leave now? Like where are the people that make you happy, where you can, talk about I like having a good chat with like my girlfriends, right? You go have a laugh, you have a chat, you feel good. So where are those people that make you feel great? Same if you got like a toxic boss or toxic work environment, demanding boss, set some boundaries there, and with your boss, just say, hey, this is what I'm going through right now. So, many people are struggling with this. And so to be open about it, obviously, sometimes it's not appropriate in the workplace, but you'd be mostly surprised that most workplaces, it is a little thing called, 2024 at this stage. I'm recording this in 2023, December 19th, no, 20th, recording this. So yeah, 2024, little things called, employee rights here. We don't get to treat people like crap. So, there's consequences for employers. So taking advantage of the benefits that are around you at work, surrounding yourself with people that make you happy. And if they don't, just minimize the time. If it's your mom, where you're like, okay, every time you talk to your mom, she's like on you for when you're going to expand your family. Maybe you don't need to spend an hour talking to her every day. We put that down to 20 minutes. Maybe we put it down to a couple times a week. Maybe you have your, if she needs to be talked to every day, your partner can talk to her, her as well. So, or your brother, your sister, whatever it is. It's not cutting people off and saying no more. It's minimizing the ones that are just kind of giving you the old drain. And when we work on this, great things can happen. We've got people in their 40s who have not had a period. So on their early 40s, haven't had a period in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. And then the period comes back when we start to really look at these mental, emotional side of things, and then getting pregnant. So it is important. We've had people that haven't had a period in 10 years getting a period back. People, been told don't donor eggs, and then there was their cycles were irregular. And we start to work on these mental, emotional side of things, not all at once, because if you're working on generational trauma and all that piece, it can be more complex. But we just start each day. Where can we kind of think more about ourselves because it's not selfish. It's not selfish. It's putting yourself first. So then when your child is here, you can model to them that it's important to put yourself first, not last. Don't be a martyr. So yeah, so we see people that their cycles return, they become regular, they haven't had cycles in years, and then lo and behold, when we start working on this. So this is the mental emotional side of it. It's super important. If you're like, there's no way I can work less hours or my job is taking over my life, just question how true that is. I always say, people are like, I don't, or you hate your job. You're like, this thing sucks. Well, there's no chain on the inside of the door. Break free, find something else, and something that serves you, at this point. I know right now, as you're trying to expand your family, moving jobs may not be the right move. So it is my suggestion is always to go into the employer and say, hey, I need to reduce hours. I don't need to attend every meeting. No, you don't. You don't need to attend every meeting. So where can you pull back on the current job before you jump ship? But just to know that, the chain's not on the inside, you can break free. Okay. So the next one we have is chronic stress. So there's mental emotional stress, maybe the chronic stress, maybe this stuff has been going on for years. And here you are on the fertility journey, having your baby, and you have been stressed for years leading up to this. Maybe you had, I see a lot of people with autoimmune issues too, before, like they've got low AMH and or high FSH, they have autoimmune issues, maybe Hashimoto's or celiac, MS, lupus, like a lot of people with autoimmune issues, as well as this diagnosis that we see, even if you don't have that. The stress and the burnout. Writing the book Burnout, I've talked about this before on the podcast. Can't remember the name of the author, Emily Nagoski, Ngoski, I think, and her sister. When they were doing research for burnout, when they asked women, "What's this?" they're like, not one person said burnout. Never heard of it. Yes, we've all been burnt out at a period of time. I remember years ago, the mailbox was across the street, one of those super boxes, and I'm like, I can't get across the street to get that mail. I just cannot do one more thing. Can't add one more thing to my to-do list. Going to get that mail was like, no. So I delegated that stuff to my partner, to my husband. So yeah, how do we delegate more? It's not about us doing everything, right? So chronic stress, maybe we're just overwhelmed. We're exhausted. We're super frustrated that nothing is working, and the body is just up in that fight or flight panic and does not want to procreate. If we're in fight or flight, how do we get to the parasympathetic so the body knows it's safe to procreate? Maybe our adrenals. We just gotta, when we wake up, are you the kind of person when you wake up, like how long does it take you to go from conscious to alert? It should be around 30 to 45 minutes. If you need like 2 cups of coffee, a few hours, and you are dragging your butt, then this may be issues going on with your cortisol. So it should spike in the morning where you're like, "Ooh, I feel really good," and then as the day comes along, it's gonna decrease. And so that can be feeling fatigued, and this contribute to the burnout. So you're like, from a physiological standpoint, something is off. So the adrenals. So this is something, our whole thesis on this is it early menopause, or is it menopause, or is it actually your adrenals? So here we are with a low AMH, a high FSH, a premature ovarian insufficiency. Maybe it is just chronic stress from all the stuff you've been dealing with, and we start to nourish your adrenals, make your body feel safe. The period comes back, and the fertility comes back online. So, so if you're feeling, and I've done many episodes on adrenals, so definitely check those out. But if you're feeling like tired, wired, anxious, you're low libido, if you do have early menopause, if that's what you've been told, hey, the doctor's saying, sorry, you're in perimenopause, you have hot flashes, night sweats, your like vaginal dryness, all those symptoms. And we see people with that all the time, and we can reverse that. So obviously at a certain point, maybe no, but like and even if you're not cycling, there's things we can do. So it's important to work on your health. And if you got premature ovarian insufficiency, is it the adrenals? Poor egg health. Can't tell you how many people that come to us, done all these retrievals. So the egg quality was horrible. We've done, multiple transfers, all the embryos tested abnormally. So once we, has of the adrenals, which impact your thyroid, which impact your AMH, your FSH, your follicle count, is that the reason that something is going on? It's not about pushing your body with hormones. It's about working on your health. You either get pregnant naturally or you're going to improve your chances of it working. Sleep, you're having sleep difficulty, you can't fall asleep. You wake up in the middle of the night, you wake up and you're dragging your butt. So sleep is the cornerstone of optimal health and fertility. Your PMS, you just got horrible cramps, breast tenderness, like you just feel like absolute, just horrible PMS symptoms, acne, depression, foggy thinking. Just like someone will say something and you're like, what? And then you're like, you got a 20-second delay. Anxiety or panic attacks, like that can be the adrenals. Also, that can be a nutrient imbalance. Weight gain, or you're just like craving the carbs and the sugary stuff and the salt. Caffeine, you're like, if you don't have my coffee in the morning, you're just gonna it's gonna take you 2 hours, 2 cups of coffee to get rolling because your body is so depleted. Hair loss, got people telling me got their hair coming out in chunks, but hey, let's just go to IVF because there's nothing wrong with your thyroid. It's just like complete medical gaslighting, right? You really got to be your own advocate on this, and your body best. Don't take no for an answer. Hire the team around you. The REI is highly trained in what they do. So you might need to go to IVF. Great. So have your REI, the OBGYN, same as well. We as part of our team have a functional medicine OBGYN. We have functional nutrition practitioners and fertility mindset coaches. Hire the people around you. You're in the center. You know your body best. If you've got high blood pressure, so it's associated with overly exerted adrenals. You got low blood pressure, underactive adrenals. You got low energy, feeling of being, and also feeling wired. Irritability, that was me for years. Hormones are imbalanced. I was just a cranky pain in the butt. Short temper. I'm like, oh my God, like things would just like piss me off. Frequent illnesses. Yeah. Someone would sneeze beside me. Next thing you know, I'm the one with the cold. I got the flu. I'm in bed again. I'm taking, antibiotics. I got another sinus infection and like going to the doctor saying, I got to get back to work. Give me the antibiotics. Completely destroyed my gut health, in that piece, which then, impacts all your ovarian health as well as the rest of your health, with all those antibiotics. And then, maybe it's just taking you longer to recover from illness or injury. And, so all that piece, is it just burnout, overwhelm, stress? So there's things we can do in a targeted manner. Once you see it in black and white, we can do serum testing using blood. We can also do testing using urine as part of our program. So you can see it in black and white. Oh, maybe those adrenals are tanked. Oh, maybe you're not even rising in the morning because it's like there's nothing left. So how do we then bring it back online? Where do we pull back? What's driving this? And there's things we can do. And another IVF pushing this is not the solution. And so, because we want to make sure you have a healthy pregnancy, we don't want to have, miscarriage a pregnancy loss. We want to make sure your postpartum period, we want to make sure you bond with your child. I got people telling me that they hadn't optimized their health. There was something going on beforehand. They got pregnant. And then the first year with this little baby, they couldn't even bond because their mood got so low, so much postpartum depression, and then just feeling not themselves for quite a while. And so, yeah, we've got people. I've just got one here where I'm thinking where she had poor egg quality. We see this a lot where you've done those retrievals, all the eggs are poor egg quality, and even if some of them do make it to the embryos, we're testing those, and those are not viable. So this person, she had poor egg quality. She had a lot of stress with her job. She had low AMH, and endometriosis. And so she made the changes, and she did have food sensitivities, gut infections. There was thyroid issues, definitely adrenal issues for her, blood sugar, that mental emotional stress. And then she did the Fab Fertile program. And then after that, she went to decided to do a retrieval, great egg quality, did the transfer worked on the first try. And then she showed me a little picture of her baby boy. So we see this all the time. So if you make these changes, there's things you can do. And this is you taking your health in your own hand. Here we are beginning of 2024. Like it is time to, trust yourself. You know your body best. We're all intuitive. Tap into that intuitive piece, that hope, it's faith, whatever it is for you, universe, faith, that piece that just knows, like, some way, somehow you will expand your family, and being open to how it's going to happen. The next time we have is the biochemical stress, so that physiological side of things, where people come in and they're like, "Oh, I'm already doing a Mediterranean diet. I'm doing a carnivore diet. Yep, I'm doing keto, doing lots of dairy. That keto diet. I'm doing plant-based, vegan. Done that for years, vegetarian." But are those diets right for you? And so, we see people intolerant to lettuce, because if you've got a leaky gut, your body will mount an immune response to your favorite foods. You're pounding down salads every day. Maybe you're eating avocados. I talked about this before, but we've had many people that have, let's eat avocados. They're really good, healthy fats, fertility superfood, but maybe avocados are not right for your body. I've had people like throwing up. One lady said she threw up when she had an avocado, but she kept eating it because she knew it was good for her fertility. No, wrong. So, like, if you've got an immediate reaction with the food, you're like, "Ooh, every time I have dairy, every time I have milk, my stomach starts to gurgle. I'm going to still have that ice cream." No. "Ooh, every time I have that loaf of bread, I just notice I get a migraine like 2 days later." So that is a direct warning sign that there's something in the food that is not agreeing with you. So it's not about, not eating these foods forever. It's as you heal your gut, you can bring most of the foods back in. And stress will then impact your gut health as well. So there you are, dealing with the stress piece, and it's, impacting your gut health. And maybe you have depression or anxiety, and maybe your general practitioner said to you, you need to go on anti-anxiety medication, or you need to do something for depression. And the SSRI then is impacting your gut health, and which then impacts your ovarian health. And so, not to say, you don't want to go off medication without the help of your physician. Definitely don't recommend that. But then, can you taper off with the help of a physician as you make all these targeted diet and lifestyle changes, because the health of your gut impacts your neurotransmitters. And I've done multiple episodes on the podcast all about your neurotransmitters, anxiety, depression, and why this is so important to work on your gut health. So if you got a food sensitivity, we can't outrun that piece. We need to. Here you are, beginning of 2024, time to do the elimination diet. Take out the top allergens: dairy, soy, corn, peanuts, eggs, gluten, and processed sugar and alcohol. Yes, dry January, take out alcohol. We all know alcohol is not good for fertility. Take it out for 10 days, systematically reintroduce it. We don't need to reintroduce alcohol, but it is not just back on the alcohol piece. I've done, numerous podcast episodes on that too. And it's more like, if you are at an event, it's not like you sitting there. You could have a nice little spritzer with a mocktail. There's all kinds of stuff, but maybe you want to have a little bit of wine with, but you can do a spritzer, or you can maybe have a tequila or potato vodka, organic wine. It's more to see how you feel. Like if it gives you like flushing, or you don't feel great the next day, because alcohol is like poison for our body. And so just, and now there's all these studies coming out. Oh, red wine was not as good as we thought. Yeah, you think so? I think we all know that drinking, alcohol on a regular basis is not good for our body, especially not good for our fertility. So, but when we're at events, it's not about you feeling, the stress of maybe you feeling not included or on the outside, whatever it is. If you want to have one at an event, fine. But if it's like a daily thing where you're coming in the door and you are reaching for that bottle of wine, maybe your neurotransmitters are off, your dopamine, you need a hit to relax, from the wine. That's a whole other problem. So anyways, here we want to take out the top allergens, like we said: dairy, corn, soy, peanuts, eggs, gluten. Take them out for 10 days, systematically reintroduce. Check out the how and why to do the elimination diet when you're on the fertility journey. It takes you through the exact steps. Do the fertility preparation program. That'll give you grocery shopping list and a meal plan, and tell you exactly how to do it. So I would highly recommend doing that right now. You and your partner make that happen. And then basically we tweak it with food sensitivity testing, and we have people take out dairy and gluten for 60 to 90 days. If not pregnant, test more with stool testing, and you can do genetics. And, we have a full program here. So you can set up a call if you'd like to learn more. But basically, the food sensitivity piece is key. The gut infections, you can't outrun an infection. Like if you got H. pylori that's overgrown, you're passing it back and forth between your partner. Maybe your vaginal microbiome is just taking a hit because you've got repeat UTIs, bacterial vaginosis, you've had miscarriage, you're on the fertility journey. Maybe the healthy bacteria in there is no more. There's things we need to do. Maybe you've got heavy metal exposure because, maybe you've been drinking unfiltered water, or you've been eating tons of rice and there's, arsenic, or maybe you've been cooking with aluminum foil. Maybe you've the whole host of reasons why you have, maybe amalgam fillings. You've got mercury. You've been eating a whole bunch of fish with mercury. So making some of those things, you can't outrun it. You need to be able to, detoxify your body. I've done an episode on detoxification of why it's important to be very careful that you do this on the fertility journey. There's a lot of people saying, let's do a cleanse. Let's do a detox. No, we're not detoxing when we're on the fertility journey. So that episode will take you through that. But you need to be able to address the gut infection. And then from the genetic piece, is there anything else we need to tweak? Maybe you need additional support for your thyroid because there's genetic SNP there that predisposes you to some thyroid dysfunction. Maybe you need more support on your methylation pathways. So you need methylfolate, which we should all be taking because 60 to 8% of the population has that. So you want to make sure your prenatal has methylfolate. It's more of a personalized approach to this, and so we can. And then also same with your blood chemistry. We're reviewing the blood chem and looking at full lipids, iron, full thyroid panel, glucose, your vitamin B12, your D, and why are these may be normal in conventional medicine, but are they optimal? What is being missed? And as we prepare for pregnancy success, we need everything in the optimal zone, not just, because we're supporting life here. Like we said, if you've got an adrenal issue, which then is impacting your thyroids, then it's going to impact your AMH, your FSH, and your follicle count. So how do we then address these in a targeted manner? And so testing can really help fast track this. And my thing is, like, people are like, ooh, I'm doing my IVF next month. Well, there's no data except an REI telling you better rush there because you're too old, the eggs are too old, and your numbers are low, and you had better boogie to do this IVF because it's your last chance. But no one is looking at the health, and we're asking the REI, hey, does diet and lifestyle matter? And we're asking the wrong person. They're going to say, it's okay, it's okay to do it, but not essential. But that's just not what they're trained in. They receive only a week's training in diet and lifestyle in medical school, and the job in itself. I can't tell you how many people that we work with that are on the fertility journey in the healthcare field: doctors, nurses, physiotherapists, all kinds of people in the healthcare field. That field is exhausting. It will have you working long hours, high stress. My mom had a little surgery just recently. I'm in there. I could peek in all the doctors were sitting around, the nurses were sitting around. Well, I guess it was the nurses and some of the staff, and the doctor was poking their head in a few times. They all have McDonald's bags out. They're eating all kinds of fast food. Well, how? Of course, because you're doing 12-hour shifts, working at night. Your circadian rhythm's all messed up. You've got high stress, people being, life or death. This is extremely, extremely stressful professions. And most people go in with that caring, you're a caring person, right? And then it just eats you alive. And so if you're in the healthcare profession, we've got to put ourselves first on this to be able to serve others. And, and maybe taking a step back from those, where can you, if I'm doing those, I know for a lot of that profession, it's those 12-hour shifts and the night shift and stuff like that. But how do you move yourself to day shift and try to reset your circadian rhythm? And maybe the being in the ER is just no longer, it's not right for you anymore. Maybe doing constant surgeries all day long. Maybe we got to pull back. A lot of times our lifestyle is designed around our job, but maybe we got to, move out of the fancy house and sell the car and downgrade our lifestyle to put less pressure on ourselves to have us work all these ridiculous hours and at the cost of having our child. So when I speak to couples all the time, I'm like, where is this on your priority list? Everyone tells me it's number one. If this is number one, we have got to make some changes. And so, to welcome in our child. And as I say, it's not about quitting the job. It's going in there to see, well, what can we do to modify the current job? because that can be stressful in itself. So what can we modify for the current job? And then we go from there. So, and so like we said, we want to be able to look at these unaddressed healing opportunities that conventional medicine just doesn't even, you're having poor sleep. First of all, you have low AMH or high FSH, and you got this diagnosis. There's a clue to dig deeper. Everyone, when I tell them what's your AMH, they could recite it, probably in their sleep. It's this 0.03, 0.08, wherever it is. It's embedded in our subconscious. And that is not serving us because we're not looking at the right biomarkers. We're looking at the wrong, we're focusing on the wrong thing. We need to look at the adrenals, the gut infections, the thyroid health, your blood sugar, your like we said, the cortisol levels there. And so food sensitivities, and toxins you're exposed to. All of this piece matters. You're preparing your body, both of you, not just you. Your partner's making those changes too. We have to look at his semen analysis, look at his blood chemistry, see what's been missed for him. And we see a lot of people, you're obviously passing, exchanging fluids. We see people with a similar microbiome. So we've got to work on our health together in a short period of time. 90 days for the egg to renew itself. The life cycle of the sperm is 70 to 80. In a short period of time, we can make massive change to our health and really impact our future. And so it is taking action on this. Like, we work with type A people that are like, give me a plan. Like, I developed this because I'm like, I love a plan. So give me a plan. And then we have people to actually help you implement it and help you get out of your own way. Because we all have patterns. We all have things that we do that we're like, oh, here I go again. Or maybe we don't even see that we're doing the same thing over and over again, that we're self-sabotaging, that we're like being sucked into that toxic relationship that, doesn't serve us, that we're working too many hours, that we're like, here we go again. We're avoiding, we're overthinking, we're overcomplicating, we're catastrophizing that this will never work. So it's important to be able to visualize a positive path forward of what will happen, for you. You're going to do this for a certain period of time. You'll do that for a certain period of time. And then at that stage, you're going to know what to do next, but you're in control. And so it's very empowering position to be, and we don't give our health over to anyone else. It's important to know your numbers, know where you are, and then may have the data to decide if you need to do the IVF. Because if you've got an infection or your adrenals are tanked, is it even going to work? And so you'll have the data to make that decision. And so we've helped people with an AMH as low as 0.02. And that person had, chronic IBS, digestive issues. They was secondary fertility issues for them, and they made all the changes, the food sensitivities, the gut infections, and addressed those. And lo and behold, got pregnant. People with 0.04 with being told donor eggs, premature ovarian insufficiency, getting pregnant. People with 0.08. So we've helped people with very low AMH that have been told donor eggs are the only option. Most people have come to us, they've done multiple failed IVFs, told, donor eggs is their only option. Nothing was going to work. And then they worked on their health, and lo and behold, they either get pregnant naturally or they go to the clinic and they're going to improve their chances of it working. Like we said many times, we are not anti-IVF or pro-health. You can't, the fast track is not IVF. The fast track is you and your partner together, building a strong foundation, working on your health and feeling great in your bodies and your mind, and really building that resilience and that strength. So if you're ready to book a call, you want to learn more about how our Fab Fertile method can help you, all you need to do is go to fabfertile.com and book on apply here. We can chat and see how we can support you. Take care.